Dear doctors, welcome you all here in Anatomy Student Zone with Dr. Sayyida Sara. You all are great, I know, but I'm receiving no comments, less like, less subscribe. You know, when you are going to create some content to help others, it takes a lot of effort, especially educational content. And believe me, I spend a lot of time in creating this content for you. I try to make it easy. I try to make it digestible for you by explaining images in anatomy, because anatomy is all clinical. So you will understand this when you will in a surgery or a radiology. In CT section, MRI, the anatomical knowledge of these images will help you a lot. So if you are good in image interpretation and understanding anatomy by this, that I am trying my best, believe me, it will help you not only in exams, but also in the future on a clinical side as well. Besides this, dear friends, remember your single comment, single like is just like energy boost for me. So hope you will understand both the content and this theory that I have mentioned for myself. So moving towards the main topic. So today's topic is anterior compartment of thigh. So anterior compartment of thigh, I will discuss with you the muscles of anterior compartment, their origin, insertion, especially in a routine life, what these muscles are going to perform action. So we will cover all that, and in on dissection, how you can identify that muscle. So femoral triangle is also a component of anterior compartment, but we will go through it briefly. In next part of this series, I will explain the femoral triangle in detail. So let's start the anterior compartment of thigh. So as discussed earlier in a previous series, that intermuscular septa, they are going to arise from the deep fascia of thigh, and these intermuscular septa divide the thigh into three compartments. So besides these old points that I have repeated right now, I am going to tell you another important and a new point, that is about a lateral intermuscular septa. So remember, dear friends, the lateral intermuscular septa is a strong layer among other septa, and that were the medial and the posterior intermuscular septa. Among these three, medial, posterior, the lateral one is the strongest one. And why it is strong? As the name indicates, it's on a lateral side, and on a lateral side of thigh, we know there is a iliotibial tract that is providing strengthening to thigh. So this lateral intermuscular septa arises from the deep surface of iliotibial tract. After arising from this deep surface of iliotibial tract, it is going to attach on a linea aspera of a femur. Like other two septa were also going to attach over there. We had also discussed that. I will tell you the detail of muscle of anterior compartment later on in a short while. But remember here one muscle of anterior thigh, that is vastus lateralis muscle. This is going to lie in front of this strong lateral intermuscular septa. As you can see here in this image, this is anterior side, this is posterior side, and the vastus lateralis is anterior to this lateral intermuscular septa. So another muscle, that is a muscle of posterior compartment of thigh. Posterior compartment I am not going to cover right now. But remember the muscle of posterior compartment of a thigh, that is a short head of bicep femoris. It's going to lie behind this lateral intermuscular septa. So one muscle is anterior to this lateral intermuscular septa, that is a muscle of anterior compartment, and the one muscle is posterior to this lateral intermuscular septa, that is a muscle of posterior compartment, that was a short head of bicep femoris. It means lateral intermuscular septa of thigh is going to divide thigh into anterior and posterior compartment. We are going to cover right now anterior compartment. So when we remove the fascia lata, that is a deep fascia of thigh, you all know, from the front or anterior side of a thigh, and when we expose the underlying muscle of anterior thigh, we observe the femoral triangle. And this triangle is also located in the anterior part and in upper part of thigh. So that's why I will also cover the anterior triangle in this series as well. So detail of the femoral triangle, which muscle are going to form this triangle, what are its boundaries, what are the content of this triangle, I will explain that later on. Because without understanding the knowledge of anterior thigh muscle, you can't understand the femoral triangle easily. So first you have to do the muscle of anterior compartment of thigh, and later on you have to do the femoral triangle. Things will be easy for you. So moving towards the muscle of anterior thigh and their detail, after the fascia lata, we are going to remove it from the front of thigh. We can see the muscle of anterior thigh. So the most superficial muscle that you are going to see is sartorius. So how you can remember this? S for sartorius, S for superficial, most muscle of anterior thigh. Remember, sartorius is just like a parallel sided ribbon. Why it is just like a parallel sided ribbon? Because the direction of fiber in this muscle are parallel, and these fiber are going to extend for the whole length of this muscle. After this parallel fiber of sartorius arises, they swing obliquely across the thigh. So remember, sartorius is the longest muscle of your body. In our body, there are a lot of skeletal muscle, and sartorius is the longest muscle among those muscles. So if it is the longest muscle, it means it should have a broad origin, of course. So it's going to take a origin from above bone, and above bone of a lower limb we know that is a hip bone, and it attaches below to a bone that is a tibia bone. It means it's going to cross knee joint and then it's going to attach over the tibia. So tibia, you know, it's a bone of leg. So in a simple way, it is going from a hip bone to upper leg, and it's going to cross two main joints of our body. So now I will tell you from which part of hip bone it's arising. So as we can see, this is going to take a origin from the anterior superior iliac spine of hip bone, and then it's going to attach on a femur bone, and it is going to attach on the upper part and the medial surface of a femur bone. Remember, I'm going to repeat it again. On a femur bone, it is going to attach on its upper part and a medial surface. So it is inserted on the upper medial part of a femur bone in front of gracilis and the semitendinous muscle by means of aponeurosis. These two muscles are behind that. So it is in front of these two muscles. So as we have seen, this muscle is crossing two joints. So it will act on these two joints, and these two joints are hip joint and knee joint. So while doing function of this muscle, we will see which movement we will perform on a knee joint, which test we are going to do to test this muscle on a hip joint, because this muscle is going to act on these two joints. Already I have explained this. But please remember another important point, that whatsoever action this muscle is going to do on a hip joint and the knee joint, all its action are weak action. That's why its weak action make this muscle as synergist muscle. So it is going to act as a synergist muscle. So from where the name of this muscle is coming from? Its name comes from Latin word sartor. It means tailor. Why we are going to name it as a tailor muscle, or it is also known as tailor muscle? Because it's having this name tailor muscle likely in reference to the cross leg position in which tailors used to sit. So this muscle flexes both the hip joint and knee joint. Again, I am repeating, this is a flexor of hip joint and knee joint, but I have already told its action are weak action, but mainly it's going to act as synergist muscle. So it is also a weak abductor of thigh as well, and the lateral rotator of thigh at hip joint. So at a hip joint, it is doing flexion, abduction and lateral rotation. So dear doctors, remember here that all these action, again what I have repeated, these are the flexion at both joint, abduction and the lateral rotation at thigh or at a hip joint. These action, these are going to bring your lower limb into cross leg position. Okay, and that position is just like Taylor's position, like we have named this muscle as Taylor's muscle because of all these actions that I have explained you. But again, I am repeating, none of these actions are strong, because this is synergist muscle. This is going to act with other thigh muscle which are going to produce these movements. So regarding the clinical correlation of this muscle, attachment is very important. So we have covered sartorius is having one attachment on anterior superior iliac spine that we have seen. So it's important to remember that this can be involved in athletes at anterior superior iliac spine level. If there is a strong contraction of this muscle, there can be a avulsion fracture of a pelvis, and they can also involve the sartorius muscle, and sartorius muscle can be responsible for the avulsion of AS, IS or the anterior superior iliac spine in that case. So we can see how its attachment is linked clinically. So, dear doctors, that was all about sartorius muscle, its attachment, function, and the clinical knowledge. If I summarize this muscle, we can see here in this table, this is arising from the hip bone. Point that is anterior superior iliac spine. It is attaching, or a distal attachment is on a tibia bone, and we have seen it is going to attach on the upper and the medial surface of a tibia bone. So we have also covered this is the longest muscle, so it is going to cross two joints, and that is hip joint and the knee joint. Therefore, it is going to act as a synergist as these two joints because of its weak action. So it is going to draw your lower limb into a sitting Taylor's position, and in this position our thigh is flexed, thigh is laterally rotated and abducted, and knee is also flexed. So hence this muscle is doing a flexion of a hip and a knee joint, and it is also acting as an abductor and the lateral rotator of a thigh at hip joint. So you already know the nerve of anterior compartment is a femoral nerve. Hence, so this muscle is also supplied by anterior division of a femoral nerve. And the femoral nerve, we know it arises from the lumbar plexus. So root value and all that we have covered in lumbar plexus. So the last important point to remember regarding sartorius is it also forms a boundary of the femoral triangle that we will cover later on in femoral triangle, but you have to remember this superficial most muscle is also forming the boundary of the femoral triangle. So besides the femoral triangle, it is also forming the facial roof of adductor canal. Adductor canal is in a adductor compartment, that is a medial compartment of a thigh. So we are not covering right now, but again you have to remember it will form roof of adductor canal in that compartment. Now I will cover another muscle of anterior thigh compartment. This is iliacus and psoas major. So together we name these two muscles as iliopsoas because they are having same distal attachment or insertion point, and also these two muscle iliopsoas, they are having the same function as well. So iliopsoas is having two parts. One is its lateral part and other is medial part. Lateral part is broad and this part is known as iliacus, while the medial part is long and that we part name as psoas major. So the lateral part that we name iliacus, as name indicates, this muscle arises from the iliac fossa of hip bone. We can see here the medial part. This part is a psoas muscle. So this muscle arises from the transverse process of 12 thoracic and the 5 lumbar vertebrae. So here in this image, one lumbar vertebrae is shown. This point is its transverse process. So psoas arises from the last thoracic vertebra, that is a 12th thoracic vertebra, and the all lumbar vertebral 5 in body. So this is going to arise from the transverse process of all these vertebra that I have mentioned. So after arising from the above mentioned point, the iliopsoas passes deep to the inguinal ligament. So behind the inguinal ligament it passes, and the difference at this point is when they passes deep to the inguinal ligament, iliacus enters the thigh beneath the lateral part of inguinal ligament, because this was the lateral part of this muscle. I have already told you, because iliopsoas is having lateral part and the medial part. Lateral was iliacus and the medial is psoas. So iliacus passes lateral to the inguinal ligament and the psoas passes into a thigh deep to the middle of the inguinal ligament. So in dissection, muscle that is deep to inguinal ligament and it is in a middle part, that will be the psoas muscle, and other muscle that is also deep to inguinal ligament but that is on its lateral part, that will be the iliacus. But of course you will also trace these two muscles from their attachment point. It will also help you in dissection as well. So after the iliacus and the psoas collectively they arises from that point. So they are named as iliopsoas. They enter into a thigh and these both parts get attached to the femur bone, and the point where they get attached on a femur bone is lesser trochanter of femur. So on a lesser trochanter of femur, iliopsoas is going to attach. So psoas muscle acting with its friend iliacus, it is a powerful flexor of hip. So when you are doing a hip flexion in different exercises, psoas along with the iliacus is a strong flexor. It also helps us in walking, how by flexing the hip joint, iliopsoas lifts the limb and it initiates a forward a forward swing during the walking. So we can see how this muscle is involved in the routine activities. So besides this action of a strong hip flexion, we know it also arises from the lumbar vertebrae that we have covered. Of course, it's also going to act on a lumbar spine as well. So what it's going to do over there? So iliopsoas is also a postural muscle as well. First, we have covered its flexion. That was its main action, and it was involved in walking. So besides this, it is also acting as postural muscle. So iliopsoas is active while you are standing or when you are maintaining your normal posture. It also flexes the trunk on thigh and helps us to sit up from lying down position. So dear friends, have you ever done sit-ups? If not, then start doing this. Start going to contract your iliopsoas bilaterally. Why? Because at hip joint with the flexed thigh, it's going to occur in sit-ups when you are going to perform sit-ups. So similarly, if you are lying down right now and listening this lecture, and if you want to sit up from this position after lying down, iliopsoas will help you, because it will flex your trunk on your thigh and it will help you to sit up from lying down position. So have you ever walked downhill? Of course you will have, but I just want to tell you, when you are walking downhill, your iliopsoas is also active at that time, and it also going to help you in performing that movements. So that was all about iliopsoas. So only the muscle, this is only muscle of anterior compartment of thigh that is not only attached to the femur bone, but it is also attached to the vertebral column and the pelvis as well, that we have seen. So after covering its anatomy and the routine function, now I will summarize all the covered point on table. That is again showing the muscle of anterior compartment. So we can see and already covered that iliacus is going to arise from iliac fossa of hip bone. Psoas is going to arise from the transverse process of last thoracic and all lumbar vertebrae. Both are having common attachment, that is at the lesser trochanter of femur, as you can see. So besides the strong hip flexors, both muscle flexes the thigh on trunk as well, like in sitting up from lying down position. So besides all these details that I have covered and I have described this, that was a minimal content that should be remembered by all of you regarding exam point of view. And the femoral nerve, which is a nerve of anterior compartment, it is going to supply this muscle. So after covering sartorius and the iliopsoas, which are the muscle of anterior compartment of thigh, now I will tell you about another transitional muscle of this compartment, that is pectineus. So focus on this image. This is a medial side of thigh. This is lateral side, and we can see muscle that is medial to iliopsoas muscle. And over this muscle we can also observe the femoral vessels. So the muscle over which the femoral vessels are going to lie, this is pectineus muscle. Earlier I mentioned transitional muscle of this compartment. So why we are going to name this muscle as a transitional? It's because of its anatomical location. So because this is located between the anterior and the medial compartment of thigh, so that's why this is a transitional, because of its anatomical location. It's also having a dual nerve supply as well. So the nerve of anterior compartment, that is a femoral nerve, it also supplies this muscle. And sometimes few branches from the medial compartment of a thigh nerve, that is obturator nerve, they also supply this muscle. So do you know pectineus is not only having a dual nerve supply, that is a femoral and sometime obturator, this muscle is also having a dual muscle action as well. So it is going to act at a hip joint, it adducts and flexes the thigh and also assists in medial rotation of thigh. So besides the flexion, it is going to adduct and medially rotate the thigh. So as the name indicates, pectineus, so it arises from the pectineal line of pubic bone. This is the anterior view shown in this image. We can see pectineus, which is arising from the superior ramus of pubic bone. So it is attached to the upper end of a femoral shaft. You can observe attachment of this muscle on a femoral shaft when you will view on its posterior surface of shaft of femur. mean on an anterior side we can't see. You can observe its attachment on the posterior surface of shaft of femur. You already know on the posterior surface of shaft of femur there is a point which is linea aspera. So on the posterior side, this muscle is getting attached at the upper end of linea aspera of femur. On a simple word, you can also say it's going to attach on a linea aspera of a femur. And of course, we know linea aspera is at the posterior surface of femur. So now after covering all the detail of pectineus muscle, I will summarize this muscle like previously we have done on a table. As covered earlier, it arises from pubic bone, it arises from the superior ramus, and it is going to attach on the posterior aspect of shaft of femur, and the point where it's going to attach, that point is linea aspera. So being a transitional muscle, it's having nerve supply by means of femoral and also by means of obturator. So I already told you it is going to perform dual muscle action as well. So pectineus acts at hip joint. On a hip joint, it is having also a dual action besides the flexion. It is adducting the thigh at hip joint. It is also doing a medial rotation of thigh at hip joint. So after covering sartorius, iliopsoas, and all these muscle pectineus, now I will cover a group of muscle which are collectively named as quadriceps femoris. So as the name indicate, quad muscle, so they are the strongest muscle in our body. So quadriceps femoris is a four-headed muscle. So it's having this name because it consists of four individual muscle. And these four individual muscle are rectus femoris and the three vastae muscle. And the vastae are vastus medialis, vastus lateralis, and the vastus intermedius. Now you have to remember this point that out of all these four muscle, only the rectus femoris, and it is going to cross both the hip joint and knee joint, while the other cross only the knee joint. So we will see all act at knee joint, mean of course all the muscle are going to act at knee joint, but just the rectus is going to act at hip joint. So it means only the rectus will be having origin from hip bone, of course, because it is also acting at that joint, while the other muscle will take origin from femur bone. But remember, the distal attachment of all these muscle, it's same, and the distal attachment is on patella, so they're going to stabilize patella because they are the crucial in routine activities. They're also extensor of a knee joint. They're going to help us in walking, running, jumping, squatting. So in this image on the left side, you can see there is a superficial dissection, and on the right side there is a deep dissection. So most superficial muscle of quadriceps group is rectus femoris. We can observe this on a superficial dissection. Besides the rectus, we can also observe part of vastus lateralis that will be on the lateral side, and the part of vastus medialis that will be on a medial side on a superficial dissection as well. So on a deep dissection, when we are going to remove rectus, its inferior end is shown in this image while the upper part is removed. So we can clearly see another muscle, that is vastus intermedius muscle. And this muscle is immediately beneath the rectus femoris because the rectus femoris is right now removed in this image. So besides this, we can also clearly see vastus lateralis and the vastus medialis completely. So first I am going to tell you about the detail of rectus femoris. So dear doctors, just what you have to do is you have to remember that the different muscle of this group is rectus femoris. So why it is different? It is different because it is acting at hip joint and knee joint. So all other vastus muscle, all three triplets, they are also acting at knee joint, but they are not acting at hip joint, while the rectus is only muscle that is acting at hip joint. So it means if it is acting at hip joint, it is going to originate from upper half. So it's arising from the hip bone, and the part of hip bone from where this muscle is going to arise, that part is ilium. So again, I'm going to tell you 2 points on ilium bone for this muscle, and you have to remember these 2 points. One is acetabulum and other is anterior inferior iliac spine. So remember, acetabulum and the anterior inferior iliac spine you have to remember for the origin of rectus femoris muscle. So these are important points. So dear friends, rectus is having 2 heads. One head is reflected head and the other head is straight head. So its reflected head is going to take origin from a groove that is above the acetabulum, and its straight head is taking origin from upper half of anterior inferior iliac spine. And these are 2 points that I have told you earlier. So this is 3D image. This is going to demonstrate the lateral view, and you can see the direct head or a straight head. This is going to take origin from an anterior inferior iliac spine. You can also see indirect head or a reflected head, and this indirect or a reflected head is going to take origin from a groove, and that groove is above the acetabulum. So after taking origin from above mentioned point that I have told you, two head are going to unite, and they are going to form the lamina of a quadriceps tendon. And this thick tendon inserts at the base of patella. If I'm going to retract this rectus femoris muscle and start observing its posterior surface on a dissection, I will see this surface will be glistening. It is glistening because of aponeurosis that is present on its posterior surface. And this glistening aponeurosis is going to help this muscle to glide on an anterior surface of vastus intermedius. And the vastus intermedius you had seen, we can see on a deep dissection that is present posterior to this muscle. So anterior surface of this muscle is also covered with aponeurosis, but just in upper part. It is not going to cover this muscle as a whole like it was going to cover on its posterior part. Now I will cover vastus lateralis. Vastus lateralis is the largest of all four quadriceps muscle that I have described you earlier, their names. So being the largest muscle of a quadriceps femoris, this is having extensive origin via broad aponeurosis, and this broad aponeurosis is attaching on the various site on a femur bone. If you are going to see on a dissection on a femur bone, there will be a various point on which vastus lateralis will be going to attach, or its origin will be on multiple points. So this is anterior view of femur bone, and as I told you, vastus lateralis arises from the various point on a femur bone. So you can see it is arising from the proximal half of intertrochanteric line. It is also arising from an anterior inferior border of a greater trochanter. It also arises from the lateral lip of gluteal tuberosity, and also from a proximal half of lateral lip of linea aspera of a femur. So we can observe gluteal tuberosity and the linea aspera on a posterior view of femur bone. So you can see from anterior half of a femur bone and also from a posterior half, this muscle is going to take origin from a various points. So besides this, it is also arising from the lateral intermuscular septa as well. So inferiorly, this muscle is going to incorporate into quadriceps tendon, and again it's providing stability to patella, because these are muscle which are providing stability to patella bone. Like vastus lateralis was arising from the lateral lip of linea aspera, similarly the vastus medialis arises from the medial lip of linea aspera of a femur, and also from intertrochanteric line. It is going to insert directly into medial border of patella. So now I'm going to cover the last muscle of quadriceps femoris, that is vastus intermedius. And you had seen that we can see this muscle on deep dissection. So vastus intermedius is going to arise from the anterior and the lateral surface of shaft of femur, but not from whole shaft of femur. It is going to arise from its just upper 2/3. Like other vastus muscles were going to insert on a patella via the quadriceps tendon, similarly this muscle is also going to insert on a patella. For exam point of view, you have to remember another point as well, that besides these rectus femoris and the three vastus that I have discussed, we can also observe a small flat muscle that is going to arise from the anterior surface of femoral shaft. But it is not arising from the whole femoral shaft, it is arising from just the lower half of femoral shaft, and it is located deep to the vastus intermedius. And the name of that muscle is articularis genu, and this articularis genu is going to insert into upper part of suprapatellar bursa. So now I will quickly summarize the quadriceps group of muscle in a given table. We can see first muscle of this group is rectus femoris. It is having two heads. So it's two head that I have mentioned earlier. They are going to take origin from the anterior inferior iliac spine, and also from a groove that is above acetabulum. Then both head are going to attach distally or to the quadriceps tendon into a patella. You can see over here as well. So vastus lateralis, vastus medialis, and the vastus intermedius, they arise from shaft of femur. Detail we have covered that from which part of shaft of femur they are going to arise. And so they are going to attach to the patella via quadriceps tendon. So all the quadriceps muscle are supplied by the femoral nerve, and we know femoral nerve is nerve of anterior compartment of a thigh. So it is going to supply this muscle. And as already I have covered that only the rectus femoris is a muscle that is going to act at hip joint besides acting at knee joint. So it helps in flexing the thigh at hip joint. While all quadriceps muscle along with rectus, they act on a knee joint as well. So they are extensor of a leg at knee joint. So their main function is flexing the thigh at hip joint, and they are also extending the leg at knee joint. After covering all the muscles, now I will tell you some important points for exam. If the question is asked regarding quadriceps tendon, what you have to answer: this is a tendon of all four parts of quadriceps muscle. They are going to unite in a distal portion of a thigh, and they are going to form a single strong broad tendon, and we name that tendon as quadriceps tendon. So patella is also embedded in a quadriceps tendon. Patella is largest ischemic bone in our body, and the patellar ligament that we also name as ligamentum patellae, it is continuation of quadriceps tendon. So you have to remember this. And the patellar ligament is going to attach to the tibial tuberosity, as you can see here. So this is attachment of this ligament. So dear doctor, after covering a muscle of anterior compartment, its detail, anatomy of the femoral triangle will be very easy for you. So in the next part of this series, I will cover the femoral triangle, its clinical significance. Till then, be happy, keep watching, liking and subscribing this channel, and please don't forget to hit on a bell icon for upcoming videos, and please be generous in liking and comments too. I believe you will do. So thank you.